Hi everyone and welcome to Bear Clooney Watches channel. Please subscribe and support genuine watch enthusiast. Today, how about we start with Martini? And not any Martini. Let's start with Vesper Martini, the same one served in 2006 Casino Royale James Bond movie. So it will be shaken, not stirred. It will actually have 3 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of vodka, half an ounce of Lillet Blanc, but that doesn't exist anymore, so you'll have to adapt to just any dry vermouth, lemon peel for garnish. And again, please, shaken, not stirred. Very unusual drink. Any mixologist will actually tell you that it is really not a right way to do Martini. Stirring is the right way. This is more of a Bradford-style Martini, albeit no bitters. So, hey, who are we to argue with James Bond? His watches had a special sauce coming out of it. His cars have a rocket shooting out of it. So he can pick Martini any way he likes. And today's presentation of the watch is actually a James Bond edition, and it's on my wrist. It's a fully titanium piece on a beautiful mesh bracelet, which is also done in titanium. And this watch is interesting to me for various reasons, and I'll mention and explain why. Sometimes in life, you approach and you see things, people, actions, objects that might break your preconceived conceptions, stereotypes, and might challenge the way you see things prior to that moment. And this watch has done that for me. First and foremost, I am not a fan of titanium watches. To me, they feel plasticky. They feel too light for a luxury timepiece. My first experience with the titanium watch was actually blue Tudor Pelagos, and I despised that watch. I really disliked it. I get into arguments with people about it because I'm passionately disliking that watch. It felt almost like a plastic toy. You know, especially with that Smurfy blue color, with those square cutouts, with that titanium lightness and plasticky feel. That watch just did not work for me. And my dislike for titanium might have been triggered from that point. The other thing I dislike about the watches is faux patina. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, every watch from the past, or most of them, have that luminous material, and also dial, that certain paints on the dial, lacquers and whatever, that through the time change their appearance, change their color. They tend to go more yellowish, And they tend to have, you know, what we call patina, which can be perceived as a damage to the watch, but if it's nicely spread throughout the whole look of the watch, it's actually quite appreciated. Therefore, there is also these tropical dials and so on that get this specific color after long time and exposure to the sun and ultraviolet light, you know, and they get this color that is very unique, brownish, goldish brownish. So many watch brands tend to use sand style color for patina, trying to do their interpretation of instant patina on a watch. And I'm not a fan of it. I just don't like it. Most of the time feels awkward, out of its place. Yet this watch has it, and it worked on it. So that's a second thing that could kind of broke my precondition about it, my stereotype about it. You know, when that happens, the watch leaves an impact on you. I remember seeing the advertising from Omega for this timepiece, and the watch was displayed somewhere in desert. And you know, the surrounding and the color of surrounding and the temperature of the photography, because, you know, there's this feel of the heat and feel of this desert around it, perfectly framed this watch and gave it such a unique appearance, and it left such an impression on me. I craved this watch, and it was very unusual to me because, in all honesty, this watch is meant to be disliked by me, by my stereotypes about titanium pieces, by my dislike for the faux patina, but somehow this tropical bezel, this faux patina on the watch, the design of the watch, the mesh bracelet, which is remarkably unique and remarkably beautiful, and also fully made of titanium, they managed to put it together so well that this watch, in my humble opinion, is the best interpretation of Seamaster 300 I've seen up to now. And I had many of them. I've seen many of them. I handled many of them. I still own many of them. So you know what? When I say that, and I know that I am anti-titanium, I'm anti-faux patina, it carries a certain weight. So, you know what? Why don't we jump into my studio, take a closer look of this watch, and I'll try to further explain my affinity for it and what I like about it. Let's go. And here we are at Berkley Watches Studio, and we're going to take a closer look at this beautiful Omega Seamaster 300 No Time to Die issue. And as usual, I play certain things that are relevant to the watch that I am presenting. I'm definitely a James Bond franchise fan. I enjoyed it since I was a kid to this day. This is my part of my little car collection from James Bond movies. So, for example, here we have the Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger. Here is the Aston Martin DBS from Quantum of Solace. Here's a very interesting Lotus Esprit from The Spy Who Loved Me. I remember being so impressed with the look of this car, and as a kid I would imagine this is the way cars are going to look in the future. This is a very, very cool classic Sunbeam Alpine 5 from the Dr. No. And this is where the Rolex sub appeared for the first time. And then there is the BMW Z3 Roadster from GoldenEye, where Omega Seamaster starts their domination in James Bond movies on the wrist of Pierce Brosnan. So yeah, here we are, and we're going to talk about this watch a little bit. You know, I mentioned how for Patina and titanium and being a special James Bond edition where this watch managed to break the stereotypes that I had about it. But there were a couple of things I immediately liked about it. For example, let me start with the way the watch comes instead of the box. Well, this is in a box, but this is the way the watch is presented. It's in this really cool watch roll, which is so kind of usable travel roll. And I like the way it's done. I like the way it looks. I like the functionality of it. I'm not a fan of the boxes that are huge, that are not for the purpose of doing anything. For example, I will use this as a great example of what I think brands should be doing, or even Breitling, like my 806 reissue of 806 Navitimer came in this travel pouch, you know, so it's actually small package, small box with something useful in it. Let me show you how this actually looks so you can get the idea. So it's quite nice, quite useful. You place your watch right here. And I don't know, I just think it's well done. It has this little James Bond franchise thing. And I think they did a wonderful job on it. Now, the watch itself, let me tell you something. Omega Seamaster has become iconic. I mean, it's not a watch that's running for too long. It's a watch from mid-90s. It's not iconic, let's say, like Speedmaster or Sub, but it's getting there. And this iconic look is very recognizable. I would say that Omega Seamaster 300 and Speedmaster are two most recognizable lines in Omega watches. And you can like it, you can dislike it. Well, there is your helium escape valve, which seems to be a problem to so many, just as, for example, Cyclops on the Rolex watches. However, this is what is typical for these watches, and you just recognize them right away based on the elements that you might like or might dislike. So that's how you will determine if that watch is to your affinity. Now, there was quite a few different issues of Seamaster 300, this watch, and this is the one that really stood out to me. And even though, as I said, it had the elements that originally I'm not a big fan of, it has some elements besides the packaging. Also, the fact that it's a no date, wind and go type of watch, very military looking timepiece. They achieved that really well. I hear that design team also discussed this with the actor and wanted to get his ideas on it. I think they did a good job, and I think they managed to create a watch that we could imagine that James Bond would actually wear. Watch has a quite gorgeous tropical dial bezel. Here's the action. It's a unidirectional, obviously. Tropical dial is achieved with the color of this watch. They also kind of managed to get a tropical dial feel for the dial. And then there's this faux patina, which kind of aesthetically frames this watch perfectly to be what it's meant to be. So, you know what? I love the aesthetics of it. And even though I will continue to say that faux patina is not something I encourage, this watch has managed to achieve a great aesthetics utilizing exactly that. The watch has a 55 hours power reserve. It's a META certified movement, highly precise. The watch is actually slightly thinner than regular Seamaster 300. And it has this beautiful sapphire which I love on this watch. I love that domed scratch-resistant sapphire, how it protrudes up. It has a nice look. It has a what would you call, like, kind of vintage feel, yet it's modern. It has anti-reflective material only inside the crystal. And it is a 15,000 Gauss magnetic resistance, so quite fantastic. And the watch is just a great tool watch. It is genuinely something you can wear every day. It's very light, obviously, because it's a titanium. Now, let me kind of show you the amazing bracelet they did. The Smash bracelet is done fully in titanium, and it is absolutely remarkable. Take a look at this, how it looks. It has a very interesting solution on a clasp. So basically, you will choose the length of this bracelet by pushing it through. So this is how it looks, right? So you lift this up, and then you push the bracelet through. You choose the hole, you lock it, and that's it. It's ready to go. Some people don't like the thickness of this, but I have to say that it doesn't bother me because it's perfectly fine on the wrist. And here is how this 42mm diameter watch looks on my 7.25 inches wrist. I think it looks fantastic. It wears great. I appreciate the little bit of thinner profile than regular Seamaster 300. But honestly, I have a NATO for this piece as well. However, I think the bracelet is the amazing job that Omega did. I have never seen a bracelet comparable to this one, and it is definitely highly recommended to get this on a bracelet. And then you can buy a NATO strap after the fact. It is so smooth and silky. And the first impression when you pick up this watch, obviously, because it's titanium, will be how light it is. I read that some people are talking that is not very comfortable. I have no idea where they're getting this idea. Do they actually own the watch? Do they actually try the watch? Or they read somewhere, somebody wrote something like that, and now they're repeating like a parrot, which is not unusual event in our hobby. This watch is beyond comfortable. One of the most comfortable timepieces I had a chance to have on my wrist. Not that it's just light, but it's just this silky, smooth bezel is just very, very nice on the skin. So the watch itself, on the back, this is where you're going to see the only sign that this is James Bond limited, no, not limited, edition, the special edition. And I think it's so tasteful, it's so classy. It doesn't interfere and doesn't make a mockery of the watch. It doesn't make it tacky and annoying. It actually looks cool. And it's hidden when it's on the wrist, so it's even cooler. I think this is by far the best James Bond special edition watch, and I would say most attractive Seamaster 300 I ever seen. Close running, I would say, would be probably the white dial black bezel, and then even more the white dial blue bezel, the Japanese Olympic Games special edition. I would say those two are quite attractive as well. And I do appreciate ceramic dials, so you know what, they are quite gorgeous. And I love white dials as well. But anyway, going back to this watch, nice profile, love the no date component, beautifully utilized for patina in the vintage military look, tropical bezel that has this quite gorgeous appearance. a bracelet which is quite unique, quite beautiful, quite functional, easy to size, easy to wear, a watch that can be certainly wind and go one piece, that can be serving you well every single day. So how about now we take a look at the lume on this piece and we wrap up this video. And here is the lume. As you can see, the bezel is lumed as well. It's a beautiful, quite bright blue lume. And I think they have done a wonderful job. You can clearly see the minute hand is done in different color, greenish. So there you go. I think this is a great choice for one-piece watch. This is a great choice for someone who appreciates the franchise, yet doesn't want to really scream on his wrist, hey, I'm a James Bond fan. But I would say this is a watch that will meet your expectations as a watch enthusiast. It will appeal to many people who are friends of the franchise. And it's just a beautiful watch. That's pretty much it. Let's go to Bear's Cave to wrap up this video. And we are back at Bear Clooney's cave. You know, watches were always a very important part of James Bond franchise. Even in the original novel 1953 by Ian Fleming, it is clearly indicated that James Bond is wearing a Rolex Explorer on his wrist. Now that changed with the first James Bond movie because it's a Rolex sub that was the first watch on James Bond wrist. And then there was so many from Seiko, Tag Heuer and so on. Rolex makes their last appearance actually in License to Kill, and that would be 1989. It was on the wrist of the Timothy Dalton, who played the James Bond, and that was it for Rolex. Soon after that, in Golden Eye, which comes out in 1995, a year before Cat Clooney was born, Pierce Brosnan is the new James Bond, and on his wrist we have Omega Seamaster Professional 300 meters. That is the beginning of continuous domination of Omega watches in this movie franchise. We went from Omega Seamaster to Omega Planet Ocean and so on. And Aquaterra as well, I believe. So it's been dominant brand in James Bond franchise since 1995. Now, there are watches that appear in a movie in their original form, and you can purchase those as they come as from the brand. However, then there are the limited or special editions relevant to James Bond, and I tended to usually really dislike them. I found them tacky. There was always some kind of James Bond symbol on it, or there was something tacky and just not appealing to me as a watch enthusiast and James Bond fan. I just felt that James Bond would never really wear a watch with the James Bond insignia on it. However, this watch managed to break that stereotype as well. Frankly, this is the first time ever that I love the James Bond Special Edition watch, which is clearly a watch that, as you could see on the back of the watch, is all about this fictional character. By the way, James Bond was Serbian, if you did not know. You know, it's just amazing how this one watch managed to change my views on three things: titanium, fall patina, special edition James Bond watches. And to package all those elements together and come out as a winner to me. So there you go. I mean, it just happens occasionally, and I'm sure many of you experience similar situations where you had a real belief in something and you kind of thought, yeah, I never will like this. I will never enjoy this. I will never appreciate this. And then something happened and you loved it. So, at the end, remember, always keep open mind, allow yourself for new experience, allow yourself to enjoy things that you might not originally think you like, and who knows, life is too short to structure yourself to a point that you're not willing to find new and interesting things, even in this hobby of ours. At the end, please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to come back to Bear Clooney Watches channel. All the best to all of you from Bear Clooney.